let's talk about the Minor Arcana. As you know, it is separated into four suits: wands, cups, swords, and discs. These represent the four different elements. Wands represent fire, cups represent water, swords represent air, and discs represent earth. In order to have a full experience or a full understanding of things in life, you must first ignite a possibility. You have to feel into that possibility. You have to visualize that possibility, and then you have to manifest that option or dream. And so I like to think of the Minor Arcana as the subtle flavorings of your life. So whereas the Major Arcana represents, say, an angel and a very specific step that you are taking along the pathway of your life, and you could think of the Major Arcana as a type of meal. So you want to have Mexican food, okay? But when you decide on Mexican food, there's all sorts of things that you also need to decide related to that meal. The wands represent the appetizer that kind of sparks your palate and awakens you to the flavors and the tastes and the sensations. It is that beginning step that opens you to an idea, a possibility, and eventually that manifestation. But you have to have a passion for something. You have to feel something really strongly inside, like a fire that you feel compelled to do, and that represents the wands. The cups represent the soups. So it represents the warmth and the softness, and it also represents the sweetness and the desserts at the end of a meal. And so that there's this warming sensation, a deepening of your experience of something, and wands always deepen our feeling, cups always deepen our feelings and our emotions as we move along the pathways of the trumps. Then you go to the swords. And the swords mean that you have to have your mind and your ideas in alignment. And the devil is in the details. You have to come up with the ideas, you have to problem solve, you have to figure it out, you have to learn some mental acuity skills. But with the swords, there is always a potential that the mind is an endless maze. And so when you look at all the Minor Arcana and the swords, you'll notice that there's a lot of heavy ones, because the mind can really disrupt things and can undo some of the other patterns that the other cards are trying to create. And then there's the discs. Without manifestation, without the ability to do the work, you actually can't create anything. So you will live an unfulfilled life if you live in the idea but don't do the follow through or do the due diligence. You will also, if you live in the passion of something and don't manifest that passion, you will always feel unfulfilled. If you live in the feeling of something, you can kind of wallow in self-pity and again never manifest anything. So it's important that you understand that what the Tarot is teaching is that you need to have all elements and all aspects in alignment with anything in your life in order to get the dream. So when you're doing a reading, you will be dealing with the fact that you have Major Arcana, and the Major Arcana are saying, okay, these are the lessons that you're learning at this particular time. And those lessons have positives and negatives. And it becomes your choice as to how awake you are to understand and the choices that you make and then the outcomes that you're going to have related to the Major Arcana. But then the Minor Arcana gives you some insight as to the potential blockages or the potential positive patterns that are coming in that will support you. But you also want to remember that when you're looking at the Minor Arcana, that certain qualities work well together and certain qualities do not work well together. So if a heavy cup is next to a heavy wand, you can see that water will put out the fire of the wand. And so they kind of negate each other, is the way to say it. So there's two sides pulling in opposite directions. Also, you can understand that if somebody has a strong air element and then there is a very dense earth element, that the earth element will seem really difficult and hard, and the idea seems super easy, but it's kind of grinding that idea into a stopping point, and it can create some delays. So you can see that certain cups are certain cards in the minor arcana are aligned with each other, and certain ones can actually be adversarial to each other. So they're either friendly or they're not friendly. So when you're doing a spread, you want to look at the major arcana as to, okay, this is the issue. And then you want to look at what's around it with the minor arcana to tell you how it's going, the flavor of it, where the conflicts are, what they're coming up against. So I hope that explains the dynamic of the minor arcana. And from here, we're going to go into the wands.